All right, it is mid-April here on the farm. I wanted to do a follow-up, kind of show you where we're at after we did a tour a couple months ago. It's been a super wet spring here on the farm, so we've just been plugging along, getting projects done and getting planting done. So one of the things you can see behind me is our PVC hoop. This is where we have the majority of our ranunculus planted. A couple of weeks ago we had a really bad windstorm which really battered it and kind of took it down, and then so we removed the plastic just to kind of save the ranunculus, which you can see they've decided to still bloom, which is great news. And over on the other side of me are the roses that we had prepped the soil for but hadn't planted last time. So this is just about 700 new roses that we put in, cutting varieties, lots of David Austins out there. They're all ready to put on a show for us through the summer. All right, this is that same area but from a different angle. We planted most of this area in roses, but we do have some roses that we want to add to our mix in the next couple of years. So we left some beds open and we planted some annuals in here. So these are just some annual, some carnations and then some godetias. So we'll have those for the season, and then next spring we'll plant more roses. And then carrying this way is a perennial section that we're in the process of, we'll have it here for this year, and then we're in the process of moving it to create more room for more roses potentially. You can see behind the perennials, there's a big patch of digitalis here. We did put up a deer fence to protect the roses from our very high deer pressure. So that was another project that we accomplished over the last couple of months to protect those roses. So this is a small section behind our house that we kind of reclaimed. It was just lawn. And so we've planted back here annuals for the last few years. There are also some perennials back behind the weed section back there, don't look. But this is, so a lot of larkspur and nigella, some ammi, some dianthus, some forget-me-nots, just for some early season filler-in flowers. So this is one of 2 peony patches that we have here on the home farm. This is about 200 or so peonies. They're up, they look great. Despite all of the rain that we've had, they're budded up nicely. And I'll also show you the patch that's down at the lower fields as well. Behind me are 3 out of 5 of the rows that we'll have of outdoor sweet peas. So these were planted just a few weeks ago. We also have some in the hoops that I'll show you, but these ones are kind of our first of the field plantings. So in hoop 3, it's very warm in hoop 3 right now. I might be a little overdressed, but the sweet peas are loving it. So sweet peas are looking good. The ranunculus to your left, my right, are just finishing up blooming. So those will get pulled out and then we'll be planting over there as well. And then we have some things planted on this side that just got transplanted, so they're pretty small, but they'll get going. In hoop 1, again, the sweet peas are looking really good. They're starting to climb up the netting. The anemones that we planted late are just starting to bloom, so we're just starting to cut off of those. And then we'll get the mums planted on the other side here in just a little while. So these are the cocos. We added about 100 cocos to this patch this spring, and they're just starting to leaf out. They look really good. We're really excited for another year of beautiful Coco Loco blooms. Okay, so this is field 2. We're on the far west end of field 2. This is the field that we took over just last year, and one of our goals with this field is to put in more perennials and woodies. So to that end, last month, we planted a whole row of viburnum snowball bushes, and our plan is to continue to move towards the hoops with other perennials and woodies as we go. You can see that our cover crop came in real nice. So this first little section is just wheat that we'll use for product as well as just for the cover crop, and then past that is a blend of those oats and rye and vetch and peas that's, you can see, grown very nicely, and we're just about ready to mow it down and start tilling in. This is our newest patch of peonies. We planted these in the fall, so in November of 2017. You can see they've come up really nicely. We had pretty much 100% germination on them. We've gone through, you can see we're just getting through with kind of like a major weeding to get them prepped for the summer. So we haven't removed all the weeds, but the peonies look great. We're gonna let them, they'll grow out this year, and we won't really start cutting on them for another season or maybe 2. So this hoop, the last time we showed it, we had just planted dahlias in it. You can see that down the center row, those cafes and sweet Natalies have popped up and they're loving it. They're doing a really nice job of putting on growth before it gets too hot in there. And then we also have spring crops of stock, snapdragons, and then a little bit of an experiment with some zinnias in here as well. We've finally gotten to the point where we're having to open the doors and lift the sides on a regular basis. So that's a little bit of a dance, but it's well worth it to have this many plugs in the ground and going this time of year. The second field house that we have planted with more snapdragons and then some amaranth. You can see we've just been watering. It is kind of a challenge to keep everything watered, especially when they're this small, but we're working on it, we're making it happen, and then they are all on drip as well. So once they get established, that will take over from there. Behind me is a section that we weren't able to cover crop last fall because we were still harvesting crop off of it. So we decided that we wanted to do a short-term cover crop, so we've seeded buckwheat on this section, as well as another section just on the other side of this cover crop over here. We're really excited because it started to come up, and so here in another like 4 weeks after it's gotten up and gotten a lot of biomass, we're gonna till it under and we'll start planting this section as well. So last stop on the tour today is field 1, which is where we'll have the majority of our dahlias, well, pretty much all of our dahlias. So we've started the process of planting the dahlias. Behind me, we have what we call the half moon, which is just a half moon shaped area. And then they're gonna continue through this field probably about halfway down. Right now, we've got just about a third of them in the ground, probably about 3,000 dahlias that are planted. You can see we use weed map on the paths, but not in the beds. Each of the dahlias gets planted with a scoop of composted manure, as well as fertilizer to help it get established, and we'll lay out the drip and we'll be all set. With the dahlias behind me, you can see that half of the field is more or less tilled and ready to plant. And then this other half, it's been so wet that we haven't really been able to get the tiller in. So we've got this lovely cover crop, quote unquote, of weeds. But hopefully this week it's dried out. We've seen some sunshine. We're gonna try to get the tiller in and prep these beds. This will be the majority of our lisianthus, as well as our zinnia crops. So we'll keep you updated and try to get another tour out in a little while to show you how that all looks once it's planted and blooming. In the meantime, thanks for swinging by the farm, and we'll see you next time.